All right, Colin. We've been running with you a couple hours today,
Yep.
and you seem like one of the guys that has some solid kit. You present your gear as if you know how to set this all up together. So, first of all, how did you design your kit for this specific airsoft match? Where did all of your concepts come from?
A lot of the concepts was just trial and error after getting out of the Marine Corps, like having issued kit and then going from issued kit, small box, to big box of how much stuff is out there. I played around with it. I've owned most of the regular plate carriers you hear about, Defense Mechanisms, Spiritus, Pharaoh, so then I have a T-Rex one at home. So I've been playing with it, to be honest, so it's kind of evolved from that. I landed on getting into the Spiritus stuff. As you can see, most of it is Spiritus.
Right.
I like a lot of how everything meshes together. The way they think of how to stack it keeps it low profile. Because if you've ever seen like a Marine Corps IFAC and stuff like that, it starts to bulge out and you start to turn into the Michelin Man. So overall goal was just to keep it as slim as possible. I'm obviously not running in a unit or anything anymore, so it's more just for me and airsoft events and maybe a couple other different classes.
Nice. So what about your gun? What brand is this, and is it set up how you typically have your personal rifle?
So this is actually a buddy's gun with all my stuff on it. The optic, I'm going to be honest, I ran the UH1 because I can warranty it without as much issue as some of my other ones.
That's a good point.
So I went safer on the optic. Last time at Iron Horse, I ran with my LPBO, so I just wanted to try something different. Also, just be a little bit more agile this time. I didn't, outside of just IDing, an LPBO wasn't like a huge detriment or not, but generally, I run a very similar setup on a BCM back home. I've been playing with the maul on it. I usually am going to just tail caps now instead of doing remote switches, and then from there I can run my maul and my white light no problem with very little maneuvering of my hand, and usually have a little emissary down here, but this is key mod and I didn't feel like trying to buy just a little thing just to throw on for a week or for a weekend.
In terms of attachment location, is this where you have it on the rail, is that similar to how you run it on your actual gun, like in real life?
Yeah, so this is like almost identical. This is about the same length, so it's kind of nice. So if I was to set up my 14.5 with this optic, it was roughly I wouldn't say any time you run an airsoft gun is a 1-to-1, but it's a really close 1-to-1.
Sure.
As far as feel. So
cool. Tell us a little bit about all the attachments you have on your plate carrier and why you have them in those spots.
So yeah, I'm running my 3810s, pretty light. I actually like them a little bit better than the 10 or 210s because they fill the bag a little bit more. From there, I used to run a Mark IV on here. I've done 3 racks before, just the slick elastic ones. Didn't really care for those because especially when you're using actual magazines, if you go prone, it just like all that dirt just cakes into your feed ramp, and I really didn't like that. Generally I'll have one pistol mag here, rifle mags here, keep the Mark V slick so I can go prone, have extra mags here, and then when I am fully loaded with regular stuff, I usually have 2 in the camel back as well. So roughly 8 mags on person. Generally I'm training on a flat range, so I don't run a pack as much, but that can change with a pack.
Sure.
Other than that, the key things that I really like about this is I can keep a battery right here with Ethereum, so easy battery changes. I have more batteries in this pouch. I lighten my loadout a little bit so I can make weight for my flight. Generally I'll keep some different stuff in the JASA pouch. Usually it's a rangefinder or something like that. Don't really need a range people because I don't really need to make any range calls for anything with this because this is only going 200 feet or more, like, or less. So from there, this is something that I've always kind of done from the Marine Corps. it would either be on my flak or it would be on my belt. And generally in the Marine Corps, as like a rifleman, you don't have a pistol. There's really no need. Just extra weight, extra ammo doesn't really make sense for general infantry to use because you're going to be using your weapon at rifle distance. So this would generally be on my hip. From there, in the Marine Corps, I carried my 14 in it. I would dummy it to one of the little tabs. The pouch like this, the CSS pouch, is very similar to an issued one. So this feels very familiar. And then I have like map pens, my protractor, my calculator, thermal blanket in here. When this isn't on, this goes in there, but I've been kind of using this as a dead signal, and if we get into a dark area and we need an admin light, it's nice to have. So,
what are you running on your back?
On my back, it's a issued Camelback. So the two mags I was talking about usually go on that top zipper, and then back here, today I have batteries for my optics and everything. So I have a serum cell vault in there. Carry an extra battery or two, but for that, normally I usually have a filter straw that actually can attach to my Camelback.
Nice.
So I can, usually you don't run it on the end of here. You put it in between the two connections. So you connect it to the hose, then you connect it to the bag inside, so you don't have that big, like 4-inch thing hanging off your kit. So then the iodine packets are packed in there. So I mean, it's a Camelback, so I try and focus mainly on hydration with that. The other thing too is that can come off, so I can unclip it, put it onto a pack, and then from there I have a hose that I can use. I'm never not able to drink water. From experience, I have been a heat case, and I have seen people heat case, and like even in today's climate like we're in today with overcast, like you're sweating so much, and even though when you take this off it doesn't always show, especially when you're wearing a field dress, you just need to make sure you're pounding water the whole day.
That makes sense. So what's your like, tell me about your belt.
So the belt, this is a Safariland. This is the only one that would fit my airsoft gun, but generally I use something with a little bit more retention. I think it's a 6390. This is a 6454 or 6354 or something like that.
Nice.
AWS belt that has been probably my favorite one so far. Again, I've been through quite a few. I've had Blue Alpha gear. I liked it. Downside is I thought it got a little loose too fast. It wasn't rigid enough for me. And I know some people don't like the rigidness, but when you start loading it up, I don't like stuff flapping. So from there, we move over to the side. I got S-Tech mag carrier, just two. Generally, this is kind of a range belt. When I'm in kit, I'm usually working rifle, just because if I'm wearing a plate carrier, I'm probably going to be using a rifle. In my mind, obviously, everything else is subjective, and we can go down a rabbit hole. But from there, I have a Josta pouch. I really like this because today I can just hold nades here and keep them readily accessible, rather than trying to grab up here. Armpit ones I try and keep from having things that I would need in an urgent situation, because otherwise you're trying to itch your armpits. Not really that easy to do when you're in full kit. And then from there, got a med kit on the back. And if I haven't lost it, I have a strap cutter as well. The strap cutter, like if I was to actually need the med kit, I'd probably want, because if you pull clothing and just rip down, you can clear the wound open, actually start seeing stuff. Because once you're hit in real life, like the last thing you really care about is your clothing, so you probably just don't want to die.
Makes sense.
Yeah. Tell me about your radio setup, like specifically what is going on.
So the radio setup is a standard wing. Right now I have a Baofeng. This has just been a placeholder. A better radio's on the list, but I mean, let's be real. The amount of time I actually use this, in serious situations is 0. Now I have other radios in the works to like get a little bit more serious into it, and this one's just kind of to beat on. If I lose at an airsoft game, it's not a big deal. So whoever throws a fit about that, that's why. So from there, it's an expander wing. I have the cable routed. It's a big cattail, so it's actually routed around my shoulder, through my shoulder strap, and down. This came from in the Marine Corps. When you're using the big Harris radios, they just give you, like, almost all the time you get a big cattail. And the last thing you want to do, especially if you're wearing night vision or just a helmet in general, or even with a rifle, the last thing you want is to just keep, like, every time you pan getting touched in the nose. It's distracting. Don't want to get poked in the eye. It's just keeping your face clear, being able to observe, and stuff like that. And then from there, it connects to my ops cores. So when I'm not using these in conjunction, because like I said, I'm not using radios a whole lot at the current time, I just tuck this into the back bag, and then that keeps the PTT nice and tucked away. From there, running real ops cores. I think they're worth the money. Again, I've had multiple pairs, and honestly with tinnitus, I just can't afford to risk more of my hearing. From there, I did a DIY scrim. So all I did was I bought bulk scrim. I cut it in the shape of my helmet. I took the little screws off, tucked it under the rail, and then I took some old camis and did some little ties so it breaks up that big round signature. The Unity Spark, really only use this in airsoft. I'm not really marking myself much and whatnot. Then we got a counterweight. I believe there's one battery in here just in case I yard sale my batteries somewhere. But yeah, and this is all on a OpsCore SF ballistic. So
Cool. And what light do you have on there?
I have a Mod Light 18350 on an Arasaka mount. It's the PIC offset mount, so it hugs in the profile a little bit more. The trees ate my ND cap, so it's somewhere over there. So I don't know where that went. So just kind of proof, like, if none of your stuff is actually secured, it's probably going to go somewhere. I could have probably mitigated that with tape, but honestly I think I know exactly where it was. I got snarled up in some like really nasty stuff, and I pretty much had to pull my head out. So and helmet wise, it's a little bit harder to check.
Yeah.
I can't just like pop this off, be like, oh, did I lose anything? So anything else you're running, you can usually tie down. I kind of like these just for the sheer fact of these aren't probably going to go anywhere without those, or without these. But again, I just like kind of a little bit of redundancy when it comes to retention.
Dude.
So
Dude, it's
Stellar.
thorough.
Yeah.
That was good. Thanks, man.
thought this stuff out a little bit.
Yeah.
Let's try and push a little bit further.
I saw you reholstering. Got him!
You can shoot me.
Got
You
him!
want.
No. I'm not gonna take no pity kill.
Oh.